Hi, my dear friends. This is Vasilina Orlova with you again, and I'm going to record a video outlining this fourth and final direction that I previously mentioned for my endeavor of coaching, right? In the areas that I mentioned for myself, that I brainstormed for myself and thought that they might make sense to people might benefit from what I have to offer. There were four directions. One of them was unleashing creativity in writing and art. The second was decluttering. The third, breakup. And finally, the fourth, academia. This is the video that is devoted to the fourth component, to the fourth element of that, to academia. And I know a lot about academia because I did my PhD at the University of Texas at Austin, PhD in anthropology, sociocultural anthropology, that I tremendously enjoyed and loved every minute of it. I also did my advanced degree in philosophy that is formally the same, which is PhD also, but at the same time, Russian candidacy, what's it called, Candidate of Sciences. It doesn't really give you quite the same standing in the West. I mean, it was more common for people of older generation to be able to teach with this degree in the West, but now it's almost never the case. Now, usually people who are coming from my region, they would have either a master's or they would have this candidacy degree before they embark on a PhD here in the West. So that was my trajectory, pretty common. And after I witnessed the, the full-scale attack of Russia against Ukraine, which deeply impacted me, I decided to return to school. I decided to return to school and to do my master's in mental health counseling, which I'm currently doing. This is a more practical training than the theoretical training that PhD offers. That is certainly way more practical than what I did in my PhD in anthropology and during doing my degree in philosophy. But that's a very important training for me, but that is also kind of part academia. So this is all to say that I have a great experience of being in academia, being around academia, publishing my stuff, presenting, writing. And I'm here to say that academia can be a great place. It's a wonderful place. It's a fantastic place where you write, where you discuss your ideas, where you conceive the research, where you design the research, where you come out with your research question, unless you, of course, had it previously and you applied with it. But you usually hone it while you are there already in the conversations with professors, with peers, with your colleagues from various fields, and you coming up with a hypothesis. Of course, you need this research to be important for everybody else. You do the work there that is very important. And because this is so very important, because everybody understands how marvelous it is, because everybody pays their dues to it, it's often very easy to overlook all the demands that come with that and all the downsides that can be attached to it. And one of the downsides that can be attached to your trajectory in academia is some toxicity related to it, right? So you will probably encounter with being exposed to various points of views and with being exposed to a lot of readings and a lot of moving concepts, a lot of complex contexts, you will probably encounter also some less than pleasant experiences, and some of them are going to be good for you. Some of them are going to be very productive and very important, and some of them probably less so. And I think that we might need to have this conversation about the aspects that might be less productive, the aspects that might be more difficult, the aspects that ultimately can accrue and can, begin, let's say, impacting you over time, right? That we might want to share them with each other because as a society and as a coach, I'm of course here not to share my story, but to hear yours, because this is the videos that I'm doing in which I'm outlining the way I'm qualified for this, okay? So I'm obviously not gonna vent to you about my experiences, which were largely very positive, by the way. They were very positive. But the thing with academia, I think that is often under appreciated, is that there is a demand to constantly be kind of proving yourself and proving your writing, proving the worth of what it is that you're doing. It can take a toll. And there is also a bunch of pressures that are very time related and that are very huge. For instance, for an for an anthropologist, pardon me, for an anthropologist, this pressure is to create a work that could previously take probably a decade in several years. When you go to a field, collect the material, and then the next thing you know, you are already writing up that material. Whereas in life, things are not quite working that way with writers. In life, you are writing about things either when they're very fresh, which is one way to do it, or after you already had some space to kind of work through them in your own tempo. Now, of course, it's understood that academia probably cannot give you those opportunities to work in your own tempo with whatever it is that you're working through, because of course everybody needs results nowadays, and that's normal. The corporate world works the same way, but also there are some, I think, idealistic views that are, attached to academia, that accompany academic pursuits, that academy is not like a corporation. Academy is not like this extremely demanding workplace that gives you exactly the things that you need to do and tells you exactly when you need to do them. In fact, the timelines in academia are very demanding. First, it's that PhD in which you have to publish usually your works, right? And then, of course, for some areas, it's acceptable if your works are going to be co-authored, but in sociocultural anthropology right now, you have to be a sole genius, this modernist figure of the author who produces these works by themselves, right? Without being attached to some sort of group. Now, I think that collaborative work is becoming more common, but we are not there yet. So you have to be this modernist author of your own, but you also have to fit very tightly into this incredibly rigid, strict genre of, let's say, a scientific article, right? That becomes like a very formal type of writing, which again, you have to present an abstract, you have to write up your question, you have to give the answer essentially, you have to provide the evidence, and then you have to do a conclusion, which again is totally reasonable because we do want to know what your work is about, but we cannot maybe afford to read everything that you have to say about it, right? So we wanted to have we wanted to have access to it in this concentrated manner of the journal article, but it's also an incredibly constricting genre for a lot of writers and for a lot of young academics. And then, of course, if you embark on a tenure track professorship, which is extremely rare and hard to get by, to come by, you also have to produce like a book, right? Usually it's your dissertation reworked, but sometimes there could be some differences here, but you're on a very tight schedule again, because in these 5 years you have to produce this book. Usually, maybe sometimes it's like a book and maybe a couple of articles or something like that. I mean, the demands vary, but they're definitely very difficult to fulfill. Very difficult to fulfill. It's not impossible, and a lot of people are doing it. But also, you know, the American Academy, we have to say, it's very hierarchical. It's not a meritocracy by any means. For certain types of people, you have to much outperform others in order to get a competitive edge, right? So there's a whole bunch of issues related to academy that is coming into play. From one point, academy and PhD, it's an incredibly privileged position. It's a wonderful position to be in. You're reading a lot, you are talking a lot to people, you are writing, you have this space, or you think you have, to produce some sort of result that you want to produce. But from the other hand, you figure that you are on a very tight budget and you are limited in terms of time also, like you have to fulfill a lot of demands. You have to TA or assist in teaching to professors, right, to the classes. So then, of course, you embark on, at some point, on publishing your stuff, on getting it out, and you begin sending your articles. And it's very good if they're immediately accepted, which also happens. But sometimes it takes quite a bit of effort to get them into publications, and that can too be very draining. So I think that one of the subjects related to academia that is under illuminated, you know, in society in general is a burnout. And burnout, I think, is when your expectations are not meeting reality, or the reality rather doesn't meet your expectations. That's where burnout comes forward, because currently, academy in general undergoes a huge transformation, right? If the career in academy, for instance, the career of a professor, tenure track professor, tenured professor was more plausible, let's say even 10 years ago, currently it becomes much more difficult because fresh PhDs are being minted by these machines of the universities every year. The number of positions, of teaching positions and of research positions, it's not that great, particularly if you have some sort of, you know, kind of specialty that is not that much in demand or something, right? It's very difficult. It like becomes this undoable task, and people understand it's undoable, but they hope it will be doable for them. But nevertheless, they will encounter that place usually when they understand that their understanding of themselves was somehow flawed. But that's not about them, you know. This is this exact situation when it's not you, it's me. It's not about them, it's about the system. The system is working in a way that it produces much more qualified people, much more than there are places out there, right? So these people with these PhDs, highly skilled, usually very good, very well informed on whatever it is that they are doing in particular. They find themselves in the position when they have to adjust to whatever job market is out there, out of the academia. And usually for them in particular, after all these years of training, there is not that much also, because it's also a fallacy to think that if I didn't succeed in academia, it's very easy to kind of turn around and walk into the outside world and find myself there. Like, it proves to be difficult as well. So from one point of view, academia is so great and this is really marvelous, and training is never excessive. But from another point of view, it does take you quite a bit of time. It keeps you in this under professionalized place when you are still a student and you are an adult, you know, and you have to survive on this modest budget. So if you want to talk about your trajectory in academia, your particular difficulties that you encountered, about your plans in general of either maybe leaving academia or maybe committing to it or whatever, I'm open for you. And I know a lot of my friends went down various routes, like they went to various postdocs, you know, that again, you have to be able to afford them, because usually you have to relocate. It's difficult. You have to start from scratch. In short, there is a lot that is coming into this dream of becoming a scholar that you want to become. And whether it's even possible to become a scholar outside of academia, maybe not, you know, maybe it is possible. So I certainly think that it is possible, but it's just, it's difficult. Yeah, so it's difficult in academia, it's difficult out of academia, but the path is there, I think, and the possibilities are there. Including the possibilities of talking and including the possibilities of talking to me. So consider that as an offer, and let me know what you're thinking. Don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. And I'm hoping that you're having a great day.